Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I know that everyone here was excited to watch the global final. We finally took on the project, and we've been working hard at it for weeks now. And I'm looking at the successful upload to YouTube, and it says that processing will begin shortly. So, okay. So it should be available very, very soon. But good evening to everybody who is here. We've got Charles is here. Tracy Hyde is here. Great to see you. Dave DeJour is here. And that is right. If you are aware of how this game ended at Gen Con in 2024, this is not breaking news. But if you are aware of how that game ended, please do not spoil it for anybody else in the comments. We appreciate that. Tonight's chat is open to the public. This is not a member-only chat, but of course our members are welcome, and many of them are already here. We appreciate that. It's been a hectic week. I'm going to tell a quick story, and then we're going to go to a very long break, and I'll explain that in just a minute. So Robin and I got together on Monday night to record our conversation talking through the game, and it was in the evening. He'd been at work all day, and we were kind of working through it. And about 45 minutes or so into our conversation, I heard a very loud bang from the lower level of my building. My studio is on the main floor, and then there's a basement level, and there are not a lot of basements in Memphis because the water table here is very high. Because we're very close to the Mississippi and there's a giant aquifer underneath us. So basements are not particularly common here. And there are two sump pumps down there. And my friends in the north will know exactly what I'm talking about. I grew up in Wisconsin, and I am accustomed to hearing the sump pump and not even having it register. But on Monday night, there was a very loud bang downstairs in the basement. And I thought it came from the neighbor. And as it turns out, it didn't. I didn't think much about it after it had happened, and I, investigated and couldn't find the source of the noise. Assumed it came from the neighbor. As it turned out, one of the two sump pumps down there decided that it wasn't going to work anymore. Now, if you're not actively looking at sump pumps, it's easy to not notice that they're not functioning. But this morning, I went down and saw that neither of them were working. So in the middle of trying to prepare all of this for us today, the landlord came by to tell us that they're going to bring us two new sump pumps. And thankfully, we did not have any significant flooding, but there's a little trench that runs the perimeter of the basement, and it was about 1/4 of an inch from the top. And my roommate, my fellow creative, shares the space with me. He's an incredible photographer. Carrie Maiden, if you want to check out his work, it's absolutely fantastic. But all of his equipment is down there. So we were very fortunate to not have to bilge water, I suppose. But it was quite the delay. Yes. Okay, so it's processing. Okay, good. So processing says it's 10 minutes left on this video. So here's what we're going to do. This video is about to be up, and as soon as it is ready, I will publish it so that everybody can watch it. But I wanted everybody to have the opportunity to watch the video before they jump into the live stream, right? Like that was kind of the point. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave the live stream on, and we're going to go to the hold screen. That wait screen with the countdown timer, but I'm going to change the timer to 40 minutes. We made an effort to keep this video shorter than we normally do, and than the ones that we had before. So this one is a little bit shorter, so that hopefully folks will be able to get through it fairly quickly. If you're comfortable with the material, it's the kind of video that you could watch at 1 1/4, even 1 1/2 speed, and it'd be okay. So this video will be up in, it looks like, just a couple of minutes. We'll make sure that it drops in the as soon as I have it, I'll put the link in the chat here so that everybody can kind of jump right to it as soon as it's ready to go public, which looks like it'll be in about 8 minutes. So Charles wants to know if I'm cheating on him and Doug. And no, Charles, the answer to your question is absolutely not. You, sir, are my first love, you little weirdo. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for being here. We've got another round of storms, by the way, coming through in the next hour or so, apparently. So it's been timed out very nicely. So we're also very excited about getting this global final finally in the books and moving through it. We've got a couple of great prizes this evening. We just got another box of great games from Renegade to give away. Some news from Renegade. I posted a big thing through all the socials yesterday. They're facing some trouble with, of course, the tariffs, because a lot of their products are, like most tabletop games, are made in China, or at least significant pieces of it are made in China. And they're facing 145% tariffs. And so they unfortunately are going to have to raise their prices, but they did give everybody a heads up and tell everybody that they had until May 2nd, which is today, to purchase at the original price, but they extended it until the 5th, which I believe is Monday. So you'll have over the weekend, if you're interested in any of the pre-orders that are out there, like Stalingrad or Era of Empire, you'll be able to pick those titles up at the list price that is current versus the increased price that'll be along shortly. So unfortunate, but I don't know how they could possibly. I mean, it's millions of dollars that it's going to cost the different game companies. So, and I know a lot of the Kickstarter out there are also trying to figure out how they're going to manage it. But speaking of Kickstarters, we are going to do something very special, and we're going to do it right now. Let me see if I can make this happen here real quick without like showing everybody my business. We're going to go to share the screen here. Nope, that ain't it. Look at those two jamokes. All right. So let's, I don't know how to do that. All right, so this is the Song for War campaign, and they are one person away from meeting their goal. If you have not backed this game, now's your chance. If you want to be the one that put them over the edge, I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to do that. If not, I'm going to be the one. I've already backed it myself. I've got one copy coming, but I would absolutely buy another one of these just to be the one who put them over the top and to give it away as a gift. So I'm going to refresh here and see if they've done it. Oh, there's still an opportunity here. So if you are interested in this, I'm going to drop the Kickstarter here in the chat. So if you guys want to back this, you absolutely get that opportunity to be the one who puts our friends at Invicta Rex Games over the top in their very first campaign. Super excited, or for their very first game. They tried this 2 years ago and they were unsuccessful. So we're super excited for them to be able to get out there and make this happen. We're super excited for them. So if you want to be the one who puts them over the top, oh, it's still there. You're going to be backer number 272. And that would be the one that puts them over the top. And I would love to be able to share this with them because I know they've worked so hard for this. So I'm excited to be able to be watching as they hopefully cross the threshold here in the next few minutes. So we're super excited to have them here. Mario from Portugal, great to have you here this evening. If you did not hear the previous announcement, I am horribly late with the video, which is, there's been a number of mitigating factors, but suffice it to say, all right, the checks are complete. And now the video is going live. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you guys the link. If you're a subscriber, you probably just got a notification that there's a new video out there. But what we're going to do now is we're going to give you this link, and you can follow that link and go and watch that video, and then I'll wait here. Essentially. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the hold screen, and then we will be back in about 40 minutes, I think is what we're going to do, so that everybody's got a chance to watch the video. The video is just under an hour, but again, if you know, depending on your level, there's also the choose your own adventure portion where you can jump forward if you already know some of the information. So go check that out, and we will be here when you get back. We will see you all shortly. And this wait time is going to be wrong, but I'm going to We're not done waiting. We'll be right back. Happen again. We're not ready. We're getting there, though. We're almost there. All right, we are back, my friends. I hope that you've had an opportunity to watch the video or at least gotten a big chunk of the way through it. We are going to fire up here and see if we can't cover a couple of other issues while folks are finishing that up. First, I have to say, giant big congratulations to our friends at Invictor X Games for successfully funding Song for War. We're super happy for them. We know that they worked really, really hard on this. So congrats to them. And they've got a great game. If you're not one of the backers, you should be. But they just passed the threshold. They've got 22,000 and change now, which is what they were looking for. So I'm proud to be one of their backers and was thrilled to be able to be part of the journey. In fact, I just got an email from them. They've got 20 days left, and they're hoping to keep adding on. And they're super excited about it, and we are excited for them. It's a really great game, and I hope that you'll check that out. So put this back where it belongs. So during the long hold, I realized that Robin has outclassed me here. He's shown up in my thumbnails with a suit and tie on, and here I am with my polo. I'm feeling a little schlubbish. Might have to jazz it up a little next time. I'll have to. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get Tom Haver in here with his fez. He's got a whole new thing happening with the. He's basically. This is his new outfit, by the way. Is this guy, which is we're gonna have him on at some point in the not so distant future, and he may or may not appear in that guy's costume. I don't know how to figure it out, but anyway. So yes, so a couple of other big pieces of news. Battlefront Dayton. We're super excited about it. It is happening. It is absolutely happening, and we have got the contracts are signed. The ink is dry, and we are definitely moving forward with the event. We've had a couple of really interesting offers that we're pursuing. I don't want to promise anything, but we're talking to, well, that's strange. We're talking to a bunch of people about different opportunities inside of the Dayton area, including some the Convention and Visitors Bureau of the county that we're going to be in, which is Greene County, and they're going to help us out with printing name tags and badges and gift bags and coupon books for like local restaurants and businesses and stuff, which I think is pretty cool. So it was a nice heads up from our friends at Hope Hotel, which is where we're going to be. So that's really exciting. So we had a great meeting earlier this week with Tabletop Events, and they basically run a website that is specialized in managing tabletop conventions and meetups and stuff like this. It's got 1 billion features because it's got about 3 billion use cases. So it's a fairly complicated and robust software. So we're working through that. But we had a really good training with them the other day, and we are going to work through that over the next couple of days. And we are confident that we can announce that badges for Battlefront Dayton will go on sale next Friday afternoon, and it's going to be. There's going to be 3 different. I'm not going to say. There's going to be a number of different kinds of badges. So there'll be a 3-day badge, which is what you'll need if you're going to be playing in any of the 3-day Access and Allies events. All of our events, we're not going to do any single elimination events. So if you show up to play in an anniversary event or the global event or 42nd or whatever it is that you sign up to play for, you'll get the opportunity to play for all 3 days. So it'll be a Swiss pairing. So if you win round 1, round 2, you'll play against someone else who won in round 1. And then if you lost in round 1, you'll play against someone else who lost in round 1. So you'll be able to be paired against folks that are hopefully, comparable skill levels. as you move through the tournament. And you get an opportunity to play at least all 3 days, right? So, so pretty cool. And I think that's going to make some folks happy. And so badges on sale May 9th. Very excited about that. And that will have all the pricing and everything that goes with that. There will be early bird pricing because we want folks to be able to sign up sooner than later. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that. And then event registration. So there'll be badges that are specific to Board Game Nation members. That link will be available in the YouTube community section where there's posts and stuff. That'll be a member-only post there that'll have the link that you'll need to buy your member-only badge. And then it'll also be available on the Discord server in the member-only section. So you can click on that. You can buy your badge directly from there. There'll be some spiffs that go with that, including event registration will start for members on May 23rd. I wanted to give everybody an opportunity, all the members that have supported us through this entire craziness, an opportunity to make sure that they got first pick at the membership, at the different events that they wanted to play. So that will open for members on May 23rd, and then to the public on May 30th. So you'll have about a week to be able to pick the events that you want. So what kind of events are we going to have? We've already advertised that we're going to be a World Championship qualifier for Access Knowledge. We're going to have 42nd anniversary and global. We're going to have the young grasshopper guys are going to be there. Robert Phelps is already rallying a bunch of folks to come and join us for that. There's going to be some BBR players there. That's the Bloodbath rules, and there's at least one table I know that's going to form for that. Probably more than one, I would imagine. We're going to have Larry Harris is planning to be there, and that'll include Imperial Borders and probably almost certainly War Room. And we're going to have a couple of the other Axis and Allies games around for folks to play, Battle of the Bulge, Stalingrad, North Africa, and some other casual games for folks to play. There will almost certainly be some Lord of the Rings Risk that's played, because apparently that's what everybody's into. I had no idea. But I'm going to need your help figuring out exactly what everybody wants to play. This is the first time that we've done this. Now, I've run lots of different kinds of events over the course of my varied careers, dance and casinos and poker dealer and every other thing I've kind of done in my life. I've run a lot, almost all of them have somehow involved hosting events. So I've hosted a lot of events in my life, but this is my first tabletop event with Board Game Nation. So I want to make sure that we are listening to the folks that we want to come. So what we would like to do is we're going to send a form out. We're going to make a form available for people to fill out and have questions about what you want to play, how long you intend to stay. Are you going to be staying at the hotel? What are your preferences for food? Do you have any allergies? Any your mother's maiden name stuff? No, no. But it'll be it just kind of give us an opportunity to figure out how best to lay out these events for everybody. How many people want to just play global, right? How many people want to play anniversary? Right, and is your intent to go from this event to Gen Con, or do you not care about going to Gen Con in 2026? Not everybody does. So so those will be the kind of questions that we're asking, and those that'll be really helpful for folks to fill those out. So we're really looking forward to those. My lovely bride Jamie is here this evening. So everybody say hi to Jamie. She is moderating this evening. She's been very patiently waiting while I got I got the video up and gave everybody a chance to watch it. So make sure that you are checking that out. Steve B, figure out. Oh yeah, thank you, Jamie. Man, I got the best wife. Sorry, everybody, I've got the best wife. So we will be. So yeah, this is a perfect segue. So we will be live streaming from Battlefront Dayton. There'll essentially be 2 featured tables at that, and so there'll be a live stream of those games, and so you'll have an opportunity to follow at least 2 of the games that are being played in real time, and then there'll be a couple of events that happen while we're there that are also live streamed, probably a chat with Larry or some shenanigans that we come up with. But yes, which is another segue to the segue, which is that in just a little better than a month, we will be at the Spring Gathering hosted by the incomparable Greg Smorey. And he has graciously allowed us to set up. Hey, Kurt, good to see you. Thanks for coming by. He is graciously allowing us to live stream from that event. So Doug and I will be playing Anniversary at that tournament, and we will be playing with whoever is, in the bracket. It's a single elimination event. I think it's 3 rounds. I think is what we'll be playing. I think it's 1 on Friday. Maybe it's 2 on Friday. I can't remember. I got to look at the schedule, but we're going to set up the cameras and do some lighting and make some magic happen there, and hopefully be able to live stream from there. So yes, yes. Okay, thank you, David. Great to see you. Excellent. So we'll be live streaming from the spring gathering, which we're really excited about, and hopefully we'll be able to live stream Doug and I's games. I think that's great. David, thank you for getting here after voting today. There is no greater civic duty as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, we're super excited about that, and I think we might be live streaming on Thursday night from the spring gathering. We're going to play something. I don't know. We've been joking about, like, this copy apparently belongs to Robin now of Lord of the Rings Risk. So we'll go ahead and bring Robin in here. He's been graciously sitting in the wings for the last, I don't know, hour. So we appreciate him hanging out. We'll go ahead and bring him in to this shot. This may or may not work. Let's find out. Hey, there he is.
Hey, Gary here.
All right. Oh, no. You got the applause. You get the glockenspiel. There you go. Hey, the glockenspiel. We have a guest. That is outstanding. As you might have noticed, this is not Doug Thorpe. Doug Thorpe has the week off, so he will not be joining us this evening. We wish him well with his family and doing his thing. We are grateful for Robin being here and taking the time to walk us through round 1 of his final match at Gen Con last year. He played against Charles, who I have also seen in the chat here. I hope Charles is still hanging out there with us. He might still be watching the video, but we'll see how that goes. But we're grateful that you are here. Thank you for taking the time.
Of course. Yeah, I see Charles in the comments throwing some shade. So, hi, Charles.
Yes. I got to talk to Charles, and we got a couple of other things that we need to work out. But, so awesome. So the first question that we had, Robin had a minute or two ago, which was about how national objectives. Yes, here we go. So Nathan had a question. Haven't played the tournament rules for global, but wonder how much the national objectives factor in. So important to note here that in the anniversary edition, there are no national objectives in tournament play, but they are included in the global tournament rules. And I wonder if you can talk about how that affects gameplay for that version of the game.
Of course. Every nation has kind of 2 sets of national bonuses. There's one for powers that are not at war, and then there's ones for powers that are in the war. And obviously, because everybody starts at war in this version, those prior objectives don't apply. So right. The national bonuses are all the same out of the box. And they're intended to give certain powers, certain abilities once they achieve those objectives, because I don't know if they want the game to go more historically accurate, or if they're just introducing another element to it. But I don't know if the game would work without them, because the U.S. Pretty strongly rely on their 20 IPC bonus that they get practically every turn. So we're talking about 3 different bonuses. One is 10, one is 5, and the other one is 5. Sorry, my son. Can you go upstairs? Daddy's on the stream. Thank you. I need to get a door. I need to get a door on my den. Okay. So, All right, back to what I was saying. I mean,
They get 20
every
IPCs and bonuses every turn. What are they for?
so like 10 IPCs if you control Western U.S., Central U.S., and Eastern U.S., which of course they're always going to do unless something tragic happen. One is if they control, I think, Mexico and the West Indies, Southwest Mexico, that kind of thing. And then there's one for controlling Hawaii, Midway, uh,
It's like an island
Lexi,
bonus.
Lexi, sorry, Lexi, Daddy's on the stream. Okay, thank you. Okay, kids.
You're doing
Okay,
great.
thanks. So and then there's bonuses that give you you know incentives to go certain ways. So like Japan pretty heavily relies on the 5 IPC bonus that they get for having the 4 Duchy Indies islands. So they definitely want to move down that way in order to take that bonus because it's going to fuel their war machine for later. The Middle East has all kinds of bonuses, both for the Soviets, which I think we talked about in the video, and for the British and for the Germans and Italians. So it just makes small IPC value territories that much more important to take. So.
I wonder if you feel like it steers the. Do you feel like it steers the game in a way that is obstructive?
No, I guess I prefer playing with the bonuses. I mean, like China. What incentive would the Chinese have to keep the Burma Road open were it not for the 6 IPC bonus? So it's kind of I would say it's almost built into the map that what some of these bonuses are for. So yeah,
Yeah,
5 IPC.
I've seen certain games that were very heavy in the national objective, right? And not necessarily just Axis and Allies games, but I've seen other like optional. If you do this, you get this. And in some instances, when I've seen those employed, it almost scripted the game, and that is okay if you are looking for a stricter recreation, right, of a particular historical event. And that's cool, but the alternative is a larger sandbox and more strategic options.
I agree. So, if what we're looking for is a standard Axis and Allies game where the Axis have a unit superiority early on, right? Where the Allies have financial superiority, and can the Allies stop the Axis from taking such and such a victory condition before they can achieve that, so that the Allies' financial superiority can come into play, which I think is pretty much how almost every Axis and Allies game of the base game is gone so far. So that's kind of what they're trying to do with the national bonuses, is give the Allies a financial superiority, especially in the United States, and give the Axis something to strive for in order to achieve parity with the Allies. So like I said, I don't know if global would work without them. I know that we've tried it before in the past, not 42, but you have to understand under this setup, everybody's at war. You're kind of in the middle. You jump into the middle of an almost scripted fight on the Eastern Front, and then after that, there's a lot more different ways that the Axis and the Allies can go. You also have to understand that in the tournament rules, bonuses don't apply for the final count of the
Right.
Axis.
The 120.
So,
Right.
and that brings it a little bit more back to taking valuable territories on the board for their specific IPC value. So,
Right. Yeah, that's true. So I just a little bell went off in my head. I fail to thank our friends at Historical Board Gaming for sponsoring today's live stream and the video. So we really appreciate them. And the link should be dropping in the chat here in just a moment. And if you are interested in the world's finest Access Now accessories and more, you can find them at historicalboardgaming.com. So make sure that you check those out. Commercial over. Awesome. So yes, so Jared, he says that he is unaware. Hey, I just learned a new thing. I was unaware that there are tournament rules for global. Well, my friend, you are not alone. This is not, unless you have been part of the global or part of the Axis and Allies Gen Con kind of community. This is not necessarily common knowledge. So, which is one of the things that we're hoping to change with this. So, if you enjoy global, and you want to be able to play it in a tournament setting, here, let me back up a step and say that I prefer to play the tournament rules for all the Axis and Allies games, even when I'm playing casual. Not just because I want to be ready when I go to the next tournament, but because I want to know when the game is going to be over. Right? Like, I don't want to be able, to me, so in this game, like the clock is set at 8 hours. Right? I've played games of global that I started in, like, I don't know, 2013 that still aren't over. They go on for a very, very long time, and that's cool if that's what you're into. But I've, kids and a job and life and videos to make, and and it's hard to get people to sign up to play a game that has an indeterminate length, right? So if I say we're going to start at 9 o'clock in the morning, but tell your wife not to wait up, right? That's a hard sell. But if I tell you that the game's going to start at 10 and we're going to be done by 6, half an hour for cleanups and postmortem, you're home by 7, and you've had a full day of gaming, that to me seems like a reasonable ask, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
So this is why I like the tournament rules in general for all of the games, whether I'm at a tournament or not.
Yeah, I mean, this game in particular can be very daunting for new players. I mean, you walk up and you take a look at the map, and there's 10 playable nations, and there's 13 different units, not even counting the facilities, and there's it's just a massive scale, and it's easy to look at this game and say, well, this is expert level Axis and Allies. This is for the crazy people that are really passionate about this. And that kind of works two different ways. The first train of thought is I've spent a lot of time and energy, putting myself into this game and learning these rules. The other train of thought is we need to keep it reasonable for new players. And I don't know if global is inaccessible for new players, because when you go to a tournament, like, you go to the spring gathering, you go to Battlefront Dayton, you don't necessarily have to know everything that's going on the board. If you get on a team, which you're going to get put on a team, in global, you could play as a minor power just to learn the game. You could play as the Australians, you could play as the Italians, and learn the game in steps like that. So I those of us that are fanatic about playing global, you don't have to be that crazy about this game in order to learn it and to have fun playing it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I always preach in 42nd anniversary that, like, I'm not playing Japan, right? My partner and I are the Axis, and we're playing this together, and we're going to talk through it, and we may, say, like, okay, and this is kind of how it came out for Doug and I and Gary and Doug versus the World, is that, like, we're going to talk through what Germany and Italy are going to do, but it's ultimately going to be my choice. And for him, he was playing the Pacific side. He had all of the madness that was Japan in that game. And so and that's where he's more comfortable, and I'm more comfortable, I suppose, playing the German side. So, but what's interesting about what you just said is that global is so big that it's almost impractical to do that, because you have to be on the Pacific side thinking about what's going on. What are the Americans going to do? What are the ANZAC? What's ANZAC going to do? And the UK, and how's Japan going to react? And you've got to be thinking through all of that while your teammate is trying to figure out what's going on in Europe. So I think that's a really interesting point. And so you can take it into, there are going to be big bites, but you can make it into kind of bite-sized pieces of that game and focus just on. I'm going to focus on just learning how to play Germany or focus on the European side, right? So that you're more accustomed to how and where the map lays out for the North Atlantic, which is very different than any of the other Axis and Allies games. Like that's a very detailed and deep map. Never mind the actual land territories, just the sea zones have very different paths that can be taken with the naval bases and the air bases. And like, you've really got to think about those and have a clear understanding of how long does it take to get a guy from DC to Normandy, right? Like, how many turns does that take? You've got to know that. And it's not a thing that you can just walk up and see, or at least I can't. So I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, that's kind of how our gaming groups, our little cliques, have kind of worked out in these global tournaments. It's always, it's some pretty standard fare for guys that play this all the time. I have a team, and Condi has a team, and Mikulek has a team, and Phelps has a team, and they, we kind of, there's an individual player that tends to set the overall strategy, but then it's up to the individual teammates to run their own countries in order to make that strategy happen. So that's just kind of it's what you almost have to do. I mean, one player can't be moving every piece in a global game. It's just not practical. So that's the way it tends to fall.
Who are you playing with in Spring Gathering?
That's funny. As Gary knows well, my team, Mike Davis is assistant GM. He helps Maury run the events. He's not going to be available to be on my team as much as I ask him to play. And then Stephen Green is he's an anniversary player. That's his game. So I can't wait to see Steven beat Gary and Doug and get some revenge for Gary and Doug versus the world. So, but
well, we'll see how that plays out. It's a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah, I mean, I can't roll dice. I roll dice as good as Gary rolled dice before UK6 and Gary and Doug versus the world. So,
that I will say that game, like, that was a swingy game. There was a lot of dice, both sides in that game, and it was a good game. I thought it was a good game, and I enjoyed it. I think everybody had a good time.
Sure, you can't argue that. So,
I'm a fan of Global, but I found I enjoy Bloodbath and War Room for the reasons Gary brought up, because we can play both in 8 hours. Robin, have you played either of those games?
So I've been asked to look into Bloodbath a lot. Now, I've been playing in these global tournaments, Gen Con, and in smaller tournaments for, I don't know, a decade now. And when you have to understand, when you lose a global final at Gen Con after you spent 4 days trying to get there, and that, you have to understand how much that stings. And so you tend to spend the rest of the year kind of going over in your head how that game went and how you lost it. So it's difficult to jump into a new rule set, especially Bloodbath. I take my hat off to guys that play Bloodbath rules, because goodness gracious, the rule book is just insane. Young
It's for
Grasshopper rules.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, the bloodbath rules are it's an overlay for global, and they use the same basic map, but they've redone it and added several things to it. It's very cool. Let me first say, I think the game is incredible. I did get the opportunity to go up to St. Louis and play in Robert Prather's event there with our friend Jon Bosch, but the rule book is, like I said, it's a global overlay, and it's another 40 pages on top of the 40-page global rule book. It's a lot. So if you think that the global 42 game is intimidating and complex, then, but at the same time,
Bloodbath round.
BBR plays in 8 hours because there's a clock, right? And it is one of the most historically accurate games I've seen, right? Like to the point where like all of the different resources, like if you need to go get iron, or you need to get oil, or you need to get like different minerals and so forth, like that's part of the thing that's involved in the game. I don't know what that means. Oh, apparently the pen is bothering my wife. So I've been told to put the pen down. Okay, so yes, but here's how. Like there's a couple hundred guys that play BBR, and what I noticed is that a lot of the guys that have been playing this game have been playing it since its inception. Right, it's a guy named Sired Blood, who is the designer for that variant of Axis and Allies, and it's changed like every year and a half, maybe 2 years, something like that. So they're on like, somebody is a BBR player in here. What version are you guys on right now? It's like 7.1 or something like that. And now Sired Blood just came out with a new kind of reinvention of that game. So it's a lot. So the folks that have been playing it have been like, the complexity of that game has been growing. And so like global players probably could have picked it up 6 months in or even a year in, right? But now if you try to step into that system, it's a pretty big bar. I'm not saying that it's impossible. 7.3, thank you, Kurt. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it would take a serious dedication to be able to jump into that, and you could certainly jump in and have a good time. But if you wanted to be competitive at it, and it is typically played competitively, it's a pretty high bar. But super nice guys who play it. Kurt and Gargantuan's played it a couple of times, and John plays it, and Robert Prather. Like, these are super, super nice guys, and I love every part of that community. And I'm looking forward to having this game presented at Battlefront Dayton, because I want to give them the opportunity to present it to other parts of our community, right? I want the young Grasshopper guys to see the BBR game, and the BBR guys to see the young Grasshopper game. And the guys who's only played Global 42, I want them to have a chance to look at that game and say, okay, what is this about? And have people who are passionate about those variants give them an opportunity to pitch it, right? Okay,
Absolutely.
Why should I play this game? That's what I'm hoping to accomplish here.
Yeah, and I think it's a noble goal. I mean, it just goes to show, with these two major variants to the game that the players have come up with, how fanatic, the people that have played this game since it first came out have been, and how much love there is for this particular version of Axis and Allies created by Larry. I mean, I would call this his magnum opus. This is the biggest game he's ever even attempted, and it took him. The first edition rules aren't the best, hats off to them for coming out with the second edition. That was pretty flawed, and then he just kept improving. So here we are with the Global 42 variant, and I sincerely hope that they put this in the. They should put this setup in the box. If anybody from Renegade is watching this, because it's it's a lot more accessible. There's a lot less rules. You don't have to worry about the politics, and you get into the action right away. There's no scripted battle for France or anything like that. There's a lot less ways in this version to break the game, which is something almost everybody looks for when they first break out an Axis and Allies game. Is okay, how can the Germans take Moscow, or how can the Japanese win almost automatically? And there's really not that option here. There's a lot less pieces on the board, and the board is so massive, and it, has so few pieces that every battle kind of counts, and has massive repercussions for later on in the game. So, and hats off to the young Grasshopper and to the Bloodbath rules players, because that I know that those guys are fanatic about their variants, and I can't wait to see all three groups of people playing at Battlefront Dayton. And hats off to you for sponsoring that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it all comes together. So
Yeah.
yes. So
after we finish, you can thank me. So
we'll get it done. So yes. So speaking of our sponsor, Charles, good to see you, brother. Global War 36 is an historical board gaming designed game. I believe they'd actually designed this game, and they've got like 12 different versions of this now, probably more, that start at different periods in the year in history, right? So I think the earliest is 36. They might have a World War I version. I know that they've got some Cold War versions that are.
That was 9, yeah.
Yeah, 1979. So I haven't had an opportunity to see any of these games, and I am really, really hoping that we get to an opportunity to see at least one of these games at Battlefront Dayton as well. I'm still talking to Doug Friend at Historical Board Gaming about how that's all going to work. But we really, they've signed on as sponsors for the event, but whether there'll be somebody there to actually explain the game is a different kettle of fish. So, or if there's somebody that's out there in the community that owns this game that wants to come and set up a demo for this game, please contact me, because we would love to talk with you. And this is one of the things that this Google form that we're going to send out, hopefully Monday or Tuesday, that is really the point of this is. So let me explain how we're going to put this event together. I worked in casinos for a long time, and I worked in poker rooms for a long time. If you've ever been in a poker room, here's how games come together in poker rooms. You get enough people to start a game, you start the game. That's it, right? So for the anniversary edition qualifying event, we're going to open 20 spots or however many there are, and when those 20 fill up, there'll be a wait list that forms for that specific event. And when there's 4 more people, then another game will be added to that event. When we open up a global 42 event, we're going to say, okay, here's 12 spaces for it, or however many there are. We'll say there's 12 spots, and when those 12 spots fill up, here's 6 more. And we start another game, and so on. And as we get closer, we'll have to figure out exactly how much space is available for each one. But this is why it's going to be really important to sign up early if you want your game represented well, right? So if you're a BBR guy and you want to make sure that that the BBR folks are well represented, sign up early, register for a BBR event, and that's how another game will be added, right? The young Grasshopper guys, they've got a little bit of an advantage on the BBR guys here because there's a lot of local guys in Dayton that play that version. So there almost certainly will be more young Grasshopper games than there will be BBR games. But I've been surprised before, so we will see how many folks come out for that. But so that's basically how that event's going to come together. So if you go on there and you see that an event is sold out, that doesn't mean that event's sold out. That just means that a wait list is formed so that we can know that we need to open another table, right? And we can do that fairly easily. We'll check it every few days between now and November to make sure that it doesn't get completely backed up. but it should be a lot of fun. I hope that a lot of people come and meet Larry, and we're gonna see if we can get some folks from Renegade to come. They've got a lot going on right now, as you might imagine. So we're keeping an eye on that, but also talking to Nightingale Games. We're going to see if we can't get Tom Gale and see if he wants to come out with Larry and help rep the Imperial Borders game. But we will see.
Yeah, I still. I mean, this guy has designed this game that's essentially, been my passion for the last 20 years of my life. So it'd be nice to finally meet the guy that designed it. So.
Yeah, for sure. I've had an opportunity to speak with Larry a number of times. I'm gonna put this pen away before I start clicking it again. I think that's what she's stopping me. So I've had the opportunity to talk to Larry a number of times over the past 5 years. That's how long Board Game Nation has been around, by the way, 5 years. And he's just always been a really, really nice guy and very friendly and very giving and funny and loves the community and is excited about the project that he's working on now and all the things that are happening. So he's just been a really great guy, and the fact that he's willing to come to our very first event, right? Like, what a show of support for what we've been doing, and we really, really appreciate that. So bummed I'll have to miss it. We're going to have a group meet in Chicago from the BGN social group. Paul, tell me about this event in Chicago. If you want, you can message me through the Discord server, but I'd love to hear about that. I love Chicago, and if there's an opportunity to make something happen up there, I'm certainly eager to talk about it. All right. So if you have watched the video, please let me know in the comments that you have watched the video, and if you've got any questions about that video or anything that you wanted to talk about coming out of that. And we got through round one today, or when we got through our first conversation, we got through round one. And I will be taking pictures for round two probably Monday. I'm actually going to take at least one day off this weekend. I still have some work to do for the Battlefront Dayton stuff, but I think I'm going to take at least one day off this weekend. Next week, I will be in Dayton, actually doing a site visit of the Hope Hotel and taking measurements and making sure everything's the way that it's supposed to be. And meeting Tom Haver there because he'll be hosting diplomacy events. I have been informed that the new mystery diplomacy game does have a name. I don't know what it is, but apparently it now has a name. That's what I can tell you. I don't know. So that's what I got. That's all we know right now. So, but we will have the triathlon. It'll be Era of Empire and the classic diplomacy and whatever the hell this new game is. But they're really excited about it. So it should be pretty cool. So we're meeting him on Friday, and while we're there, actually, we're gonna shoot the how to play for Era of Empire, because what better person to talk us through it than one of the people listed as additional designer, right? So he's gonna give us the Diplomacy of the Mystery. Apparently that is the name of the game. Yes, Slacker, what are you talking about? Jamie's giving me a hard time. Didn't we just have a vacation? I suppose we sort of did, but it was a hectic vacation. But no, I think it's going to be good. So next Friday. So we're going to be in Dayton for that. Our son graduates from college on next Saturday. So we're going to that. It's super exciting. And get to see the grandkids for a day or two and hang out with them. And then we'll be back and rocking and rolling. The following weekend, though, I'll be back in Dayton. So if you are heading to Duel in Dayton, Robert Phelps's Young Grasshopper event, I'm super excited that I've blew some sky miles to head up to buy a ticket from Memphis to Dayton. I'm going to be there on Saturday, probably around noon, and then I'm flying out on Sunday afternoon. So I'll be there for about a day and get a chance to hopefully learn enough about this young grasshopper version to form an opinion. So that's should be fun, and to get to meet those guys. Like I said, I went to the BBR event. Those were super nice guys. I expect the young grasshopper guys will be the same, and so we will be there. I will be doing the lives. My plan, programming note. Robin, you and I should probably have talked about this beforehand, but my objective is to have the second video out for the global part 2 of this series out the week of the 23rd. So not this coming week because there's a bunch of things happening, but the week after that. So we'll have that out and then do the live stream on the 23rd, which is, again, the day that badges go on sale. No, I said that wrong. I apologize. Then that member event registration will be available on the 23rd. Badges go on sale next Friday. And yes, Brian, that is when the room reservations will also be open. So we'll just trying to coordinate it with the hotel so that there's not a bunch of kind of goofiness along the way. So yes, so next Friday, badge sales, hotel room block opens. So you'll be able to make all of those reservations. Brian, you and I need to talk about that. I'll message you later about it, but yeah. So then, member event registration on the 23rd, registration for the public on the 30th, and so the objective again is to do the live stream on the night of the 23rd for part 2 of this series, and then we might do, I got to talk to Greg about this and figure out what the timing of this is going to look like because we'll be playing in different events. But I'm trying to figure out if we can do part 3, the live stream for part 3 from this from the spring gathering.
That'd be a great idea.
Very cool. I would love to be able to do that. Because Charles, are you coming to the spring gathering? I think I'm pretty sure I'm used to seeing you there. Are you coming?
Yeah. We played in the global final spring gathering
right.
the past couple of years, so I'm pretty sure.
Right. So Charles was the opponent in this game, and it would be very cool to be able to have both of you like in this live stream at the same time, and you guys can duke it out, and I'll have Doug there, and we can
Battle Royale.
Yes, we can play shoots and ladders for shots or something. I don't know what you guys do. But yes. Okay, so awesome. So any other questions about Battlefront Dayton? Some very cool stuff happening. Yes, man, guys, again, I won the prize for Best Wife. So I've created a Facebook event that is going to be a really good spot to keep track of all of any changing details. So make sure that you've clicked on that you're going or you're interested or something like there, so you get a notification when something changes in that space. There was a question. Here we go.
Yeah, a question about the national bonuses. You have to understand. So that for usually the bonuses apply during the collect income phase of every power's turn. So it's the additional money that you get at the end of the turn in order to spend the next turn. There's only 2 bonuses that apply during the actual turn. One is the Chinese and one is the French. So if the Burma Road is closed, then the Chinese can only buy infantry. If the Burma Road is open at the beginning of their turn when they actually purchase units, then they can buy artillery. Obviously, if it's open at the end of the turn, they get their 6 IPC bonus. The only other one that I can think of is the French bonus. As soon as Paris is liberated by an allied power, they get 12 IPCs to spend, which is almost always 4 infantry. And they get to place that immediately during the other power's turn. So it's actually a bonus that applies at any point during the game. So otherwise, it's besides those 2 exceptions, it's always at the very end when you collect income, you check for bonuses at the end of the turn. So
that French resistance fighters, like becoming infantry, that only happens once, right?
Yeah, so it's I mean it's listed in the national objectives, but it's only a one-time thing. The other one-time bonus is if the Soviets ever take Berlin, I think they get a 10 IPC bonus immediately. So, but otherwise, yeah, that's the way the bonuses, national objectives play out in global. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question, Dave. Thank you. That's a good question. Okay, so any other questions about the Global 42 setup or the tournament rules or anything like that? It's also worth mentioning that, okay, it's also worth mentioning that the event sales, the event ticket sales for Gen Con open on May 18th. Okay. So if you want to play at Gen Con this year in any of the Access and Allies events, you want to be on your computer on May 18th.
yeah, or almost in any event. I mean, you need a ticket to play, though there are generic tickets where you can just walk up and play certain games. In events that are sold out quickly, like the World Championship, those you go on a lottery essentially on the 18th, and if you miss the lottery, you're not playing in that event. So it's pretty important for those of us who are Gen Con fanatics to get on there right away and try to get our tickets. And you'll go on a wait list that's 50,000 people deep. So
Yeah.
it's
So
all
just to be
lottery.
really clear here. So if you want to play in any event at Access at Gen Con, Access and Allies, or really anything, you must have a badge first. And those are on sale now. Buy those first. Okay. Once you have a badge, you'll have an account on the gencon.com website. And then from there, you can go and you can make a wish list now. I think that's already open because the events are already listed. So you can make a wish list of the events that you want to play in. And then when sales actually open, that's the fastest way to then say, yes, buy that ticket, buy that ticket, buy that ticket. And that's the best way to do that. So make sure that if you want to play in those events, get familiar with that website. And it's a little clunky, right? It's not state-of-the-art website there. So be patient with it, but it's kind of a thing. So make sure that you're paying attention to that. Charles is saying there'll be
I
a
am,
bunch of, go ahead.
I am running two events outside Access and Allies. People who know me know that I'm a big fan of card-driven Napoleonic games, so I'm running one of those. I think Saturday night, and then also running a Harry Potter game on Wednesday just to kind of warm up. You gotta. It's one thing that you gotta do at Gen Con. You can't, just show up, spend the whole time playing Axis and Allies, and then walk away. There's so much going on, in this game in particular. And in order to avoid your brain quitting on you, you really need to diversify and think about other things from time to time. So
Yeah, a good palate cleanser is fun, is helpful in there. I found that uh, the year Doug and I won the world championship, during one of the breaks or after we were done on one of the days, I wandered over and bought a generic ticket. So there are specific event tickets that you'll need for tournaments typically, but then there's a lot of like kind of casual open gaming things that you can do as well. But for those, you need something called a generic ticket, which you can buy. You can buy them in advance if you want to, or you can buy them there like a carnival ticket thing. You can, walk up to a desk and you can pay, and they're usually like $2 or $5 or something like that. But one of the things that I had a really good time doing is I played a giant version of Settlers of Catan, and they had dice that were like this big. You would like chuck and they'd bounce around, and it was ridiculous, and it was fun. And it was, and playing with strangers and that also thought it was completely ridiculous to do, which was,
yeah, my kid really likes the foam fighting. So yeah, they expanded Gen Con out into Lucas Oil Stadium as well, and there's a section there. It's devoted to LARPing with foam swords and bows and arrows and things like that, and that's all generic tickets. So
yes, those are fun. Little little ska folks that are running their things out there. Okay, so do y'all do probability math at tournaments, or do you just have intuition from experience? How does that work? That's a good question, actually. I have an answer for this, and I think Doug and I have talked about this, but I'm curious how you do this.
Yeah, I mean, and I've heard you guys, doing the math by yourselves, during the Gary and Doug versus the World live streams. So there's no phones allowed at the table. You can't sit there and run probabilities on every possible battle and hold up the game. That's outlawed. So it kind of makes it fair for everybody. And the thing that I do, and it's kind of a thing that we've done up here in Minnesota ever since I've been playing with these guys up here. They have two different metrics that you need to look at. The first is how many pieces each side is going to have in the battle, which usually means how many dice they're going to roll, and the other is how many pips. Like people that have run low luck in Axis and Allies games kind of know what I'm talking about. You take whether the attacking or defending powers of each individual unit, and you add them all up and divide it by 6, and then that's how many hits you should get on the first turn. So in global, it's a lot less. I'm playing to destroy your entire force so I can move forward. It's a lot more targeting of individual units. Like I'm going after that aircraft carrier because that guy's going to hit me later, or I'm going after that transport so that he can't take this national bonus, that kind of thing. And it's very valuable for that and for this particular game to run the odds that way. So I got the pips are even, but I've got unit advantage because I can take soaks on my battleships or something like that. That's kind of how you determine how best to get into each individual battle. So
Yeah, I will say a shorthand that I developed was basically what you just described. The low luck calculation, right? Total attack value of all of the units, divide by 6, that's how many hits that we should get. And then you can do the reverse, right? How many hits do I expect to take? And you can do the round by round for that if you want to, right? And sometimes that's useful, particularly if you think you're going to want to retreat, right? If you're just planning to strafe that territory, you're I need 7 hits. So, okay, I need this many rolls, right, statistically. And of course, the moment you pick up the dice, like who the hell knows what's going to happen? Sometimes you just wipe everybody out in Poland, and that's just how that goes sometimes. Or you get shot down by 4 AA guns for no apparent reason at all. So it's still a dice game, but you try to make good decisions every time. And in theory, if you continue to make good decisions every time, that's the path to victory. But I will say that the shorthand that I kind of came up with was the value of the attack or defense value or whatever it is. Gary Dice's chaos. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
So is the attack or defense value plus the number of units more than one side has, right? So if I've got, 5 guys that have an attack value of 15, you've got 8 guys that have a value of 18, then you are 3 more points than I am. And I give those double the value. So those 3 more, so that's 3 plus double that, that's 6. So your value is 21, mine is only 15. Okay. That's kind of the shorthand that I came up with. Then you can say, and then if you're feeling particularly froggy, you can say, okay, well, that's 7 over 5. And you can then figure out what the exact probabilities of that would be, right? Divide them both by 3, 7 over 5, and get you. But you're also just trying to play a board game, right? Like I didn't come to do calculus.
As far as the dice in this first round went, we were over the moon with the way that the Russians Steven rolled in Russia. It was pretty amazing to not take any of the losses that we normally take there, and we thought that set us up pretty well for later on in the game. There's two roles I would like to have back. Was the fighters that I sorted out from Hawaii. I had it with one of those guys. He got to roll 3 times, and he missed on the last roll, which was pretty brutal. And then also in the Solomons on J1, Charles and Carl and Jake, they were attacking my battleship and transport there. And I got 2 hits. They elected to take, or I got a hit. They elected to take the destroyer instead of the submarine, so that they can get the sneak shot on my battleship, because all I had left was a tip battleship and a transport. And he actually hit with that, so I wasn't able to roll with that battleship, which meant that I had to commit that Anzac destroyer forward instead of leaving him with the transport. So that was pretty brutal too. But I think Charles would agree with me here. I would trade all of those pieces for only taking 5 to 7 losses in Russia on R1. I mean, it's just unreal odds. Normally, you would take at least 10 or 11 losses with the Russians. So we were set up from the jump to push pretty hard into Europe, and it's pretty difficult for the Axis to win with the Soviet steamroller moving through Poland. So
yeah, as I watched that play out in the video, and then as the stills, as I was like, so I was putting stills together. Robin, by the way, thank you, Robin. Let me just say this in front of everybody. Robin, actually, I sent him the raw video of the game, and he took the time to go through and create the annotation for the game, which made my job so much easier. I did watch the video, but I'm not as familiar with the map as Robin is. So seeing units move from Rostov to Volgograd, right? Like that it's pretty. Anyway, so plus he has a recollection of how it went, right? So it made it much easier for me. But I will tell you that as I was putting the stills together, and I'm like, okay, so how many pieces are left in this space? How many pieces are left in this space to take the pictures? I was like, is this right? So I went back and double checked. Like, I had to go look at the video. I was like, man, they really did get shellacked in this battle. It was pretty rough. But yes, so that's a monster opening for the Russians. We'll see if they can maintain that kind of forward movement, or they run into Poland, and bad things happen when you go to Poland. So Charles has an opinion about my opinion. Gary believes that buying an R1 fighter.
It was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time before this came out. Now, let me point out, in this game, this particular game, not a single power on the first turn fought a fighter. None of them. So I don't know if you took offense to that, Gary, or.
Well, this game happened like the global is like I said in the video, like I don't claim to be an expert in this particular version of the game, but I will say that like the Russians seem to have a lot of land units, right, in this version of the game, and they start with an air base in Leningrad and in Moscow. So, like, if you want to be able to move forward, I would look at air power for the Russians, and they have a fair amount of money. So, on R2 in this game, I promise you, I'm buying at least one air unit, probably a tactical bomber, in R2. I haven't looked ahead, so I don't know if that's whether or not that is what actually happens or not. But that is what I would be looking at here.
In global, because the map is so large,
right,
and you only have a certain number of turns to get around, that you gotta buy your slow moving and your land units early on, because you can always buy the planes behind them and then fly them forward with the air bases. So typically in global, we don't see a ton of planes bought on the first turn. You will start to see that, as the game goes on, in any global game, you're gonna start to see like the U.S. start buying more bombers and things like that, because any other pieces that they put on the board are going to be useless later on in the game. So, but bombers in range, so that's what they do.
Right.
So that's what you're gonna, that's what you would see watching any standard global game in a tournament, is that kind of that kind of mentality to buying the slower moving units
Sure.
early. So
Yeah. So Dave is basically responding to Charles here. So what Charles is referencing here is the anniversary game that we just played. That was Beamdog versus the World, and the Russians did buy a fighter in the first round, and unfortunately they did lose. But I would argue that they did not lose because they bought that fighter. Russia held. Russia at the end of the game had all of its victory cities. And the Russian fighter did play a significant role throughout the game, and in particular in that very last round. It was one of the things that stopped us from going into Caucasus. If there had been 2 more infantry there, we might have gone 2 more infantry versus that fighter. We might have gone, right? Our math would have been significantly different, right? So, I think that the Russian fighter is still the right buy for anniversary and for 42nd edition. If it's the right buy for global, I don't have any idea. But it does.
when you get Russian turn 4 or 5, I mean, it really doesn't make any sense to purchase land units. Even at your minor factories that are at the front. In these global games, you're going to see all Russian plane buys, on R5, R6, that kind of thing. So, I hear what you're saying, and I'm trying to think of a way that you should buy a Russian. There's just no way that you need to buy a Russian fighter in this game on turn
Well,
1.
you just pay the 10 IPCs and you get a fighter. I don't know what you mean.
It's just you have to think,
how.
you have to I understand that Russia has a lot of pieces at the start, but you have to consider if you lose 12 or 13 troops on R1 when you're attacking these German spaces, how that's going to affect the game later on. You need to have a large amount of punch in order to get into Eastern Europe, and when the Germans and Italians both have major factories right there. So, the game kind of comes down to, at least on that front, how many land units you can move in, because you can't, when you take a space, you can't land your planes there immediately, right? You need to wait a turn, and you need to hold that space in order to land your aircraft there. And there's a lot more of that in global, of moving forward seasoned spaces and trying to hold it against a concerted counterattack. Now, say the Germans, they already start with a bunch of planes. Holy cow! Like the Germans and the Japanese, they start with a ton of aircraft. I think the Japanese start with 9 fighters and 4 tanks and a bomber. So they don't typically need a lot of air power early on. They need a way to get their troops and their planes around. So it's a lot of carriers and transports. The Germans have a ton of options in this game. They can go after the British, they can go after the Russians. But let me tell you, after that opening Russia roll, if I was playing the Germans, I don't think I would be buying an aircraft carrier in a minor factory. I mean, that's just me. I would be thinking, oh, how am I going to stop 30 Russian troops coming into Eastern Poland in a couple of turns? So, and we'll see how that plays out. No comment.
Yeah, I was surprised that I didn't see more mechs in. Maybe the mechs come in round 2, because you're buying your slow movers and then guys that move a little faster and then guys move a little faster. In 42nd edition, there's a strategy, honestly, that the 42 online AI absolutely loves, which is what I call a German wave or a black wave, where it's infantry on turn 1, maybe turn 2, with an artillery to break the change, and then it's tanks, and then it's fighters, and then it's bombers, and then you're in Moscow on turn 5 or turn 6, right? Like that's the AI for the Beamdog AI absolutely loves that strategy, and for good reason. There's a reason that works, and it sounds like that's the thinking in a lot of the global spaces as well. Do you think does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean, especially for the Germans and the Russians and Soviet Union in this game. I mean, it's if you look at the combined arms rules on top of just where the major uh, strategic territories are on the board, they're usually two away from your factories, so mechs are usually the buy. And when you look at the combined arms, your mechs, they can pair with artillery just like regular infantry. They can also pair with tanks in order to blitz. I mean, if you pair, say, a mech with a tank and a tactical bomber, you've got a pretty powerful force right there for not a whole lot of money. And that combination can cause a lot of serious damage. So, yeah, I would agree. It's just like I said, you don't know when you're making these moves on R1 what kind of losses you're going to take. And I'll tell you one thing that the mech of, the couple of mechs that they start with, those would be the last losses I would take for the Russians because that allows you to move around. And I agree completely. Mechs are very powerful in this game, except for the U.S. I mean, they really can't use them because they load on transports just like a tank. So it's not easy for the U.S. to range mechs all over the place. But the Japanese, once they get a foothold on in Asia, we usually see them crank out a ton of mechs. The British, if they get a factory either in Egypt or in Persia, something of that sort, you see them buy a lot of mechs. Mechs from South Africa can range Egypt in a couple of turns.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was thinking
mechs are
that the way to move American mechs in would have to be through Africa, right? Like you'd use them to land in Morocco so that they could move across North Africa or to.
spoilers, Gary. Spoiler.
No, I don't know anything about what happened in this game. I'm just thinking about how you would use mechs, right, for the Americans. Um,
Right.
but yeah, that's how. Yeah, that'd be the only particularly useful way, particularly because they take up that critical second spot on a transport that
Yeah,
you
for
would
me,
otherwise fill with an artillery or a tank. It'd
they will
almost
have
be a utility choice, right?
people. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen like Australia buy a Mac, even though Sydney is two spaces away from everywhere in Australia. And because they only have a production capability of three, so they really need their ground troops, and they need every single one of those three spots in order to buy ground troops. So, and then once they're not under threat anymore, they're all about helping the U.S. Push forward. So it's all fighters and destroyers, transports, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I mean, mechs in certain situations can be extremely valuable. UK minor factory in Persia can start cranking out mechs and can get into India and past India pretty quickly from there. So, but you need to have friendly spaces in order to move them unless you're pairing them with tanks. So you can either use them to pair them with tanks, or you can use them as sort of a mobile defense platform. So,
Um, Jared is still here. Great to see you. I know the AAA exists, but do you think Beamdog could add global to the base game as a different mode? I'm in Texas, so my family and I are so far away from everybody. Couple of things, and Charles hinted at this, but Beamdog got sold to a company that I think, ironically, is in Texas. But since that happened, it was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now. Since that happened, there hasn't been any development in the Axis and Allies space. They fixed a few bugs, but in some instances created more bugs than they solved. And as far as expanding into anything new, I would be absolutely stunned. I did some work with them early on when they were first getting going. I did a great interview with Trent Oster, who's their CEO or was. I'm not sure if he still is or not. But now they won't even return my emails. So I don't know what's going on up there. But yeah, which is unfortunate because I think they did a pretty good job. I mean, it's like anything, there's a bit of a learning curve because you got to figure out how to read the spaghetti map and how to load transports and all that kind of stuff that, right click here, left click there. And now I got to figure out how to do it on my phone. Like if it's a whole, there's a little bit of that. But once you got the swing of it, it was pretty good. And there's a really robust community of people who play that game. There's 3 or 4 Discord servers that are just, that's what they do. And there's several channels that's all they do, right? Is they play, 42 online, which is great. And I would give them a ton of credit for introducing a lot of people to the game that then perhaps transition into, live table play, right? I think that's great. Anything that grows the community, like I'm all for it. I don't care. But I wouldn't expect anything shiny coming out of Beamdog anytime soon. But I will say that there are a lot of Axis and Allies players in Texas. You need to cruise over to our Discord server and go to the Find a Player page. This is all free. You don't have to be a member to do this. The Find a Player stuff's open to everybody. And then go to the Texas tab, and you'll find people that are in Texas. There's a lot of people in Dallas. There's a lot of people in San Antonio, Houston. There's some people in El Paso that I know that are in that group. So make sure that if you want to find Axis and Allies players down there, they're there. And it was one of the places that we actually considered for our first event. We thought about going to Dallas because I know that there's a bunch of folks that are down there. We don't see them very often in the chat, but in the live streams or whatever. But I do know that they're there and they're pretty active. So you should be able to find some folks over there. So awesome. And there's Jamie dropping the link in this. I'm gonna have to buy her dinner or something.
Yeah, I've played with global players all over the country. I used to live in Southern California for a little while. Played a lot at Strategicon tournaments there. Moved up to Seattle. Played a lot at Metro Seattle Gamers and Dragonflight. There's a lot of passionate global players. I obviously started going to these tournaments, a decade ago or so, it's pretty amazing. The depth and the amount of players that there are all over the country, and people that just have, or over the world, just looking to have that experience of getting into this game and playing in person, and not necessarily online. And hats off to you for starting the Discord server. I know AxisandAllies.org has a lot of that too. Dave Jensen's thing. That's how I found a lot of the players that I play with here in Minnesota. So yeah, it's quite a community. So
yeah, for sure. I've actually got a project that I'm working on with Dave right now. He's celebrating 25 years of AxisandAllies.org, and we're super happy for him. I mean, he's just put an incredible amount of work into that, and it's paid dividends. Like, it's been a really great pillar for the community, and so we're going to help him celebrate that. I got asked by our friends at Renegade. They do something called Renegade Con, and they do 3 times a year, I think, 4 times a year. I don't know. Tom, tell me. I don't know. Tom Haver's here, everybody. So everybody say hi to Tom. He's probably wearing a fez. I don't know. He's just probably sitting in his house with,
Well, you're never going to know because he's in the witness protection program. So.
Right, exactly. They do it 4 times a year. So I just got asked by Renegade to create a piece for Renegade Con. So Renegade Con is actually it's an online con, and they do kind of a series of YouTube announcements, videos about new games that are coming out and premieres and some public interest stuff. And they asked me to make a history of organized play for Axis and Allies. So yes, and which is very cool. Yeah. And who would I call to help me with that? I called Dave Jensen. So I called Dave Jensen, and he was all about it. And he's going to be appearing with us in a video that will be part of that Renegade Con. That video will actually be posted on through the Renegade's YouTube channel, but it'll be available for everybody. We'll make sure everybody gets a chance to see it, because we're also going to have Tom Haver on in that particular piece, because Tom is in charge of some shadowy organization inside of Renegade. That's the Renegade Heroes, and they're supposed to be helping with organized play in general. And Battlefront Dayton will be one of those events. We're super excited about that and grateful for their help. So, but yes, I don't know. I can't even talk to you about it. It's very secretive. But anyway, so he's going to be helping with that, and so we're going to have him in that piece talking about that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Dave Jensen and his work. And one of the things that he's going to be doing to celebrate that is an event at Gen Con that is like a Axis and Allies decathlon, for lack of a better word. And it's going to be multiple rounds of play, but you'll be playing all of the different theater level games, or local games rather, right? So so I think I think one of the rounds is Guadalcanal, another is North Africa. I think I don't know if they'll have Stalingrad available at that point yet or not, but that's the idea, right? Is that it'll be that, and then D-Day, and probably Battle of the Bulge and stuff like that. So I don't know how many rounds it'll be, but it's all, and I think they're all 2-player events.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if D-Day is still being printed, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Stalingrad will be available yet, but so he's running that event, and we're going to talk about it during the thing. So it should be pretty fun. So yes. So once again, Tom was mentioning a minute ago Song for War, and again, congratulations to Song for War. They get the big applause for this for sure. They just got fully funded. We're super happy for them. And I actually took a screenshot, and while we were in the middle of the break, I sent this screenshot, which is the purchase that sent them over the top. If that was somebody in this live stream, please let me know, because I would love to be able to tell them that. We're super happy for them. They needed 22,000. They just cleared the goal today. So we're really, really happy for them. I know that they've worked really hard on that. So if you want to step forward here and tell us that you were the one that put them over the top, you'll get yourself a specialized glockenspiel.
Good job. Yeah, definitely good job. So.
Yes. So if you have, I'm telling you, like, I made the video, and yeah, it was a sponsored video, whatever, but I have been excited about that game for a long time. So I'm really glad that we're actually going to be able to get a proper copy of it. The one I had was just prototype, and I think I'm supposed to send it somewhere. I'm not sure. I don't know. They haven't called me yet to send it someplace, but yes. And the other news, and thank you, Charles, for bringing this up. Ed, hey, good to see you, brother. Is Renegade sent out a big announcement a couple of days ago saying that, unfortunately, due to 145% tariffs on almost everything that they sell, they are going to unfortunately have to increase their prices, but they're honoring their original list prices until the 5th, which I believe is Monday. So if you want to order any of these before the prices go up, now is your opportunity. And I will tell you that I think that you should buy them now, because they're cheaper than they're going to be. You're going to, like, some of these are pre-order, some of them are things that are available now. But if you're going to do anything like that, like, now's the time. But I was surprised that the prices didn't go up more, because, like, some of the prices are only up by $10 or $8 or something like that. And
yeah. 5% tariff, you figure that would be a lot more than that. So
right,
but, yeah.
So
Renegade's kind of in there. So
yeah, so order now, my friends, because companies are folding. I think Renegade's got plenty of depth. I think they're plenty strong. I'm not worried about them going away, but a company, Flat River Games, just laid off a bunch of their staff, and there's a shell of company left over, and there's a couple of other toy companies that are not that far away from us, my friends. I know that we don't like to think of ourselves as playing with toys, but we're playing with little plastic guys, right? So, so there's toy companies that are not going to be around for Christmas. They're not going to make it. And yeah, so yeah, Nintendo raised their console prices by $100.
Xbox too.
Yeah, Xbox did the same thing. So I think, if you're going to buy, if you're interested in getting one of these games, which I hope that you will, make sure that you're getting them now. And yeah,
I don't know what the vendor hall at Gen Con is going to look like. I mean, maybe it might be all right for this year. Because these companies have back orders. I'm worried about 26. And what prices are going to be like in a Gen Con vendor hall. It's a scary thought.
Well,
So
yeah, and a number of companies have already pulled out of Gen Con. And, it's not like Gen Con can, Gen Con is massive, right? So it's not like they're going to have, they're not going to have as big a year, I think, as they had, in previous years. But it's going to be cheaper for the companies to back out and forego their fee than it is going to be to have enough stock to make it worth keeping the booth. So,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, here we go. So this is Tom, and they said Renegade said this in their email. They went out of their way to limit their impact on their supporters, and they're doing the stand-up thing by giving people extra time to lock in the prices. Now, yeah, I appreciate that. I want them to. I would rather they charge us all $5 more and survive, right? And keep the organized play support, and keep the new games in development, and keep your designers and your graphic artists, and keep everybody employed, right? Like that. But I'm not on the inside of all that, so I don't know all of the particular details. But I'm worried for the industry.
Yeah, I'm worried, in particular for games like Global. I mean, these kind of massive war games. A game like Clash of Corgis is going to be fine because it's only gone up by $1 or $2. But a game like Axis and Allies Global 1940 or
Right.
or
Imperial War,
Anniversary.
right? Like that's another great example. But I don't know if did you guys do Ava was our new personality. I thought she did a nice job, right? And also for the she was in the Battle for the Deep video. I thought she did a good job.
Yeah, I'm sitting there watching
that? What do you think about how Ava did?
I'm just sitting there watching X and Allies content, and then all of a sudden, Ava pops up on the screen. She's like, "What animal would you like to have going into battle with you?" Well, that's an interesting question. I'm thinking bears, coyotes, corgis.
Right.
Well, that was out of left field.
In the industry, we call that a hook. Just so you know, that's what we call that. So awesome.
But I got to tell you, this is an interesting experience. Laying out my strategy and everything for people in global. The guys that I normally play with in these tournaments and play against in the final rounds, they already know what I'm going to do. So it's not quite such a huge deal for me. So.
It was Tom. Were you the one who put him over the edge, Tom, or did you just happen to back it just now? We'll see. All right. Yeah, I don't think it'll be this strong, Dave. I don't think it's going to be double. I think it'll be. Yeah, I don't think it'll be double. But I think it's going to be more than $5. But that's what at this point. I think all of them are $8 or $10 more than what their regular retail prices were. But we'll see. So Jamie did a Kickstarter for. There's a YouTube channel that she really likes. Ghost Town Living. Has anybody seen this? Guy named Brett. I can't remember Brett's last name, but he bought a ghost town, and he's been like an old mining town in Cerro Gordo, California, and he's been at it now for 4 years, and he's turned it into like a tourist destination. It's pretty cool, and he does a really nice job in the videos and so forth. And he's got he puts out a video, and there's I don't know, 700,000 views in 12 minutes or something, and but it's a great channel. Anyway, so he produced a board game. And so he put it out on Kickstarter, and she backed it for $30. I think was the ask, and it's just a casual kind of game that kind of leans into the history of the town and stuff like that. But she just got a notification from them that in order to fulfill, they need another 10%. So in this instance, it was $3, right? Okay, whatever. Like, okay, fine. But when it comes to Imperial Borders, that might be $30, right? And if you were, and at the same time though, if you were in a position to drop $300 on this spectacular game, it's worth every penny. Don't get me wrong, but if you're spending $300 on a game, the extra $30 is probably not the make or break for you. But the fact that if they don't do this, they're going to lose. That's what they're going to do to break even, not make money. There's no profit anymore. There's no profit anymore. This is just to keep the lights on. Like, okay. So much winning. Anyway, so yes, Ghost Town Living. It's a great show. If you get, I don't know, Jamie loves this, and I enjoy watching it too. She's more fanatical about it than I am. But yeah, no, absolutely, you're right, Charles.
I'm just remembering all the great pieces I got from historical board gaming over the years. I mean, not only these coasters, but some of the pieces that I use in my game, Corsair fighters and Enterprise class carriers and things like that. I got to say, I am worried about the difference between shipping high quality kind of merchandise and just buying a 3D printer or something like that and knocking them out right there in your den. I don't know. It's a question that I would have for the historical board gaming guys. And how are we going to keep the pieces the same quality? Without jacking up the price. If you're ordering these things from overseas. So, but
yeah, I think they're making a lot of their pieces. I think HBG makes a lot of their stuff. Some of it, I'm sure, is imported, but I know that they've got a network of folks that I think are doing a high quality 3D printing. I mean, we've seen some of their pieces. We've given them away. Like some of them are really, really great, and they're all really. Not that I'm an expert in the space, but I think they're good. I think they do a nice job. Anyway, so speaking of giveaways.
I'm a big fan of the HBG.
Yeah. All right, so it's time for a giveaway. Let us swing around over to this guy right here and see if we can do this without. So last time we did this, which was, I guess, was this last week? Week before. Week before. Yeah. We gave away a lot of stuff. But it was like, and you can see me laugh in the video. I realized I watched it back later. You can see me kind of giggle. Like a remarkable number of people that had won prizes before and not claimed them won again. I was like, what? Like there's 100 people on this list. Why are we going to land on these same 3 guys? Like, I love them. I appreciate them being members and doing their thing, but like, we're trying to get these things. Like, I got boxes of stuff. I need to get these out the door. Anyway, but we did get Pino got his copy of Robo Rally. Don't ask me how much it cost me to ship that box to the Netherlands. It was not cheap. But we also got a set of dice off to Ed, who's here, by the way. That we've sent those. They should be on their way. I'm sure they're on the very slow boat to Australia, but they should be there in not too long. But here's what I learned. If you live outside of the United States and you win one of our prizes, you will get this prize. But you might be getting it from your local game store.
It's going to be cheaper.
Right. Because I promise you, it would have been substantially cheaper for me to have the forethought to pick up the phone or Google, like, board game stores in the Netherlands. Right? Tell me what city you live in, or tell me the name of your favorite board game store. And I will get in touch with them, and I will buy that game for you, and it will be on the shelf when you walk in the door with your name on it. But I didn't think about that before we sent this out last time. So we have lived and learned. And the dice, by the way, the guy who gave us the dice, he shipped them to us from Hong Kong.
Those are some beautiful dice.
They really
Goodness
are.
gracious.
They really are
So
spectacular.
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Tracy's set.
Yes, 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 yes. Those jade ones in particular were really, really sharp. Um, but but what I should have done with Ed was instead of shipping those dice from here to Australia, I should have just called the donor, the guy who gave us I should have just called Dice Nest and said, hey, I'll give you $30 or however much those dice cost. Please ship a set to Australia. And it would have still saved me money. So I'm working it out. We live and learn, my friends. We live and learn. You do what you can do.
Yeah, we've ironed out so many kinks in carrying Doug versus the world, and on the Discord server and everything. So hats off to being flexible, Gary. Yeah, I'm really admiring the passion and everything that you put into working. Not only, I hardcore gamers, like the guys that I play with at these global tournaments, they don't tend to mix too well with like the casual gamers. There's not a whole lot of overlap there. Or people that are big time casual gamers and also major Access Allies fans. But you definitely found a way to bring both groups together into this nation. And it's yeah, hats off for doing that.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Robin. Yeah, we work. I love Access Allies, obviously, right? But I will say that my intent was never to be an Access Allies channel. Like that was never my goal. My goal was always to be a gaming community space, right? And I was learning how to do this 5 years ago, how to make videos, and it was pandemic times. And for those of you who don't know or haven't gone back and looked at like our earliest videos, the original concept for Board Game Nation wasn't anything like what we are now. The original concept for Board Game Nation was to be like drive-in diners and dives. You've seen this show with Guy Fieri, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
We wanted to make that show for board game stores. So we wanted to travel around to different board game stores, meet the owners, talk about the store, talk about the business, let them tell us what they particularly cared about, what was exciting about their store, and then maybe do like a small unboxing of a game, right? In the store. 20 minutes, clean, light, easy, right? And we went out and we shot 10 episodes. And we went to 10 different board game stores and and met some fantastic people. It was wonderful. And then we published our first episode in January of 2020. And we specifically targeted board game stores that had large play spaces because we wanted the video of people playing, right? We wanted to show the idea of community. Unfortunately, of course, as we all know, like the pandemic comes and that benefit for them, which was this like communal space, became this huge drag because no one could come. So there was no revenue drawn from this like rental space that they had to deal with, right? So of the 10 gaming stores that we shot at, 6 of them went out of business, which sucks. So I, of course, then couldn't travel anymore. So I had to basically lock myself in my studio and kind of took myself to YouTube University at that point. And then it was time to learn how to do cameras and audio and lighting, and ordered a bunch of crap from Wish, which was like our first set of like lights and backgrounds and stuff. If you go back and look at the 42-second edition how to play, that was my first like big video. Like that was my like, okay, I think I figured out how to do this. That took me months because it was like a huge learning process. But that background is like that. It's a backdrop of like a fake brick background. It was classy. It was classy. But
my favorite video of yours from that time period is definitely the history of Axis and Allies, kind of taking a trip through memory lane. Kind of historically how we got from a small box made by Nova Games to Global 1940 and Anniversary Edition. That was a great video, and I apologize for blowing up the comments with all inaccuracies. I found I've been playing this game for so long. I played
Yeah.
every single one of these games. So
Yeah. Yeah, that was me and Shannon made that video together. 40 years of Axis and Allies. Yeah, that was a few years back now. But yeah, that was so anyway, so we feel like we've learned a ton. But again, the objective was never to be just an Axis and Allies channel. The idea is like you see the logo, right? Like it's red is strategy, right? Collectible cards, role play, casual. So the objective is to get to where there's more, where this is a larger group. And so invariably, so this is part of the reason why we brought in Ava, because we want her to kind of lead this casual space. So we're working on developing sponsorships for that so that we can, she's a professional. She needs to be paid for her time. And she cares about she actually has a degree in game design. That's how I found her, by the way.
wow.
She got a degree in game design. And she's a fantastic artist, by the way. Like some of her artwork, you can find her on, if you go to that Battle for the Deep, there's a link to her Instagram in the description. So you can actually follow her artwork. She's actually very, very good. So anyway, I will say the other big difference that the choice that's different than most people that I made for the channel was I have always favored quality over quantity, right? There's so many people that just point their phones at stuff and just and then post it. Like there's enough of that out in the universe. And so I'm not knocking people to do that, man. Go create. That's awesome. But it wasn't going to be the right choice for what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to get to where it was more professional. And I feel like we do make professional products at this point. I mean, when somebody pays us money to make a video, like I want them to feel good about the decision that they made to give us money in exchange for representing their game in the best possible way or their product in the best possible way. And I feel like we do that now. We didn't always, right? But it's a process. So we're learning and we're growing, and I appreciate the support. But we absolutely couldn't do it without people like you, Robin, and people like Ed and Dave and Tracy and Brian and Nathan and Ed and Jared and my wife Jamie. Of course, we couldn't do anything. None of this is possible. None of this is possible without Jamie. We're just super grateful and excited about everything that's coming up. Like I love to run a good event. I love a good party, and we're excited about that. Charles wants a Gairforce polo. I don't even know what that looks like, brother.
What have you started?
I know. All right.
For those of you joining us, it was a recurring joke during the anniversary final. Gary decided to show us what he would have done in this circumstance, and it was almost always buying a plane. And he got put on full blast by the comments. Goodness, we just tore him up, and it was a pretty fun experience for all of us. So that's why I love this channel, is because of the camaraderie we can have and joke around, that kind of thing, with our fellow gamers in the comments. So
it'll be Gary and Soviet propaganda style. That's fun. Nathan, reach out to me about the ideas. Like I've seen you on Discord. Ping me with if you've got ideas for merch, like serious ideas. Like I'm not opposed to this. I think it's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, but that may just be me being weird about it. But we'll see. Will there be Oporto volunteer? I don't know what that means, Tracy. I don't know what an Oporto volunteer is. I do like the sound of a good volunteer. Opportunities. Okay, thank you. Will there be opportunities to volunteer at Battlefront Dayton? Yes, absolutely. But you and I need to talk about something else. I need to talk to you and Brian. We're going to figure something else out here. Thank you, Tracy. All right. So if you've got ideas for merch for Gairforce, whatever the hell, or Thorpe Thump stuff, we'd love to hear about them. Hit me up on Discord and we'll figure it out. So I like the idea of the Gairforce stickers. That's fine, but I don't know what those look like. This is just Russian fighters. Is that all it is with Gairforce written on it? Okay. So yeah, we'll see. Yes, as a Renegade hero. So this feels like a spoiler of what this Renegade Heroes thing might be. Organizing volunteers to help at events. I do like that idea. So we'll see. Yes. You guys are so funny. You guys make me laugh. The sound quality was extraordinary. Yes, we had our struggles. Okay, we did have our struggles in the beginning. Hey, you know what? For as much as I spent, like dollar wise, on the equipment that we had, like early on, like it was pretty good because we got in this pretty cheap. I'm not gonna lie. Some
I
of
mean,
the
I can
equipment
honestly say that I would have never expected to see recaps of games from these Gen Con tournaments. You know, I understand it is a big deal at Gen Con. I mean, we have our own, you know, the entire S'more swamp, and we have people going through from time to time getting autographs and looking at games, but it's usually, you know, people just kind of walk through that area on their way to other places, and I
to the
can honestly
bathroom
say,
because you're right next to the bathroom.
yeah, it's right next to the men's room. So I can honestly say I never thought that I would, you know, be seeing these kind of recaps of these games on YouTube or on any other platform. And yeah, and it's another hats off for doing that, because it's I think it's generating a lot of interest in you know, Gen Con and Axis and Allies at Gen Con, and in other tournaments, other events, Spring Gathering and your new Battlefront Dayton. And you know, there's a lot of other tournaments out there. So if anybody is interested in
Duel and
Axis and
Dayton,
Allies,
right?
yeah, you can
Duel and
go
Dayton. I
on
think they still got some spaces.
a Board Game Nation Discord and find events in your area. And I think it's a great opportunity to expand the game, especially right now, when, you know, the suppliers are so under threat in the way that we've been talking about. So
Yep. Yeah. The YouTube algorithm fell in love with our 2023 Axis and Allies World Championship coverage. That first video, like anybody I think had ever even heard the words Axis and Allies, like they got presented that video, and it changed the trajectory of the channel like overnight. It was bizarre to watch. It was very strange. This is what was funny about it is that on January 1st, I happened to look at the thing, and we had just hit 6,000 subscribers. And I remember thinking, man, that's a really big threshold. That's very cool. I'm super excited. We got 6,000. And then on January 4th, we published round one of the 2023 World Championship. By January 8th, we had 10,000 subscribers. And I remember thinking, that is amazing. And I was, half of me was like super excited about it, and half of me was mad because I'm like, you know how long it took me to get the 6,000? And I got 4,000 in 4 days? Like, what is happening? So, and I'm mad about it. Don't get me wrong. I'm super excited everybody's here. But it was like, what? Huh? And it kept going, which was just fantastic. By the end of that month, we were at, like 13,000, 13 or 14,000, which was just amazing. And, you know, and Jared, he's just mentioned, yeah, the 2023 videos is what brought him here. And what's funny is that, like, when I look at my analytics on YouTube, and still the 2023 World Championship videos are still like churning away and getting a lot of views. I mean, the round one video is up over like 215, 220,000 views now. Like, what? That's insane. So for this for this kind of content, you know.
In years gone by, you know, as far as global goes at these events, you know, you would just show up to an event and there would be like a casual game of global going on, and you know, it never really got slotted into tournament play before S'more, and you know, all of the guys that are so fanatic about playing global came up with rules, these tournament rules, and on top of that, Larry released this. I guess it's been 12 years now. They released this Global 42 setup where you can have this alternate setup where you can get into the game right away. So, and that combination of things brought global into tournament play. It just wasn't feasible or practical before then. I know, a lot of us that have been playing Axis and Allies for a long time know that when the game is going to, because of the setup where the Axis have the unit advantage and the Allies have a financial advantage, kind of know where that tipping point is going to be, where the Axis are suddenly favored to win, or the Allies have stopped them and they are now favored to win. Right. It was really brilliant to come up with this tournament rule to say, if the Axis get over 125, that's usually about parity or where they need to be to push over the the Russians or the Brits or whoever, right, in order to come in. So it's
to successfully project victory if the game had continued, right?
It's just outstanding work from the guys that have been playing in these tournaments for so long, and I didn't come up with any of this. I can't, I came into playing global at these tournaments, a decade ago, but these rules are already in place. So, and I've just been playing with them since. And it's going to be interesting to see where it goes in the future. I know there's been a lot of discussions about changing the rules up lately. And I think we're going to be play testing at least some of that at Spring Gathering. And I can't wait to play it again in Gen Con. So,
Yep. So again, tickets for that go on sale on May 18th. And so we were talking about the growth here. So we had this huge spike in 2023. And that came out in January of 2024, right? Gen Con 24 had twice as many people in it playing Axis and Allies tournaments as they did in 2023. And I expect that growth is going to continue into 2025. So, I mean, I want there to be more games of Axis. I want S'more Swamp to grow and have an annex in Lucas Oil, right? They got plenty of space over at Lucas Oil. So, let's move some space over there. But this is all Greg's show. I don't have anything to do with it. I help where I can, but it's Greg's thing. But I want it to be strong enough that is needed. And right. So hopefully we'll be able to get to that point. But May 18th, my friends, that's where it's going to be. That's your date. But anyway, okay, so let's do let's give away two things. What are we going to give away? We're going to give away your Lord of the Rings copy. We're going to give that away. No, we're just going to I got another copy.
Inside joke, people. Inside joke. So anybody who hasn't watched, anybody who's watched Gary and Doug versus the World knows that I've been talking about Lord of the Rings the entire time. So.
Yeah. All right. Here we are. Have you played Acquire? You ever played this game?
Yes, I have. They're pretty fanatic about that in Seattle and the Metro Seattle gamers. I played the old version. I don't know how it compares with the new one. So.
Yeah, it's basically the same game. It's just updated so that the pieces are a little nicer than I think some of the. This game's been around forever. So this is a classic game. You're exactly right. Okay, so we're gonna give that guy away, and I just got a copy.
Yeah, if I want to play a game of Acquire or St. Petersburg, they're always doing that in Seattle. So
yeah, this is a good
one. Excellent Risk variant. It's it's not on par with Lord of the Rings, but it's pretty great one. So I know Risk Legacy and 2210 are the best variants. In a lot of people's opinion out there.
So. I like the Lord of the Rings Risk variant. That's my favorite. And I will say 2210 is probably my second favorite. Here's one that I just got today from Renegade that I haven't had a chance to try yet. Have you played this? Anybody played this? The Godstorm version?
I have seen it. I have not played it.
Yeah, same here. I've seen it a couple of times, but I haven't had a chance to sit down and play it. I don't really even know anything about it.
After tournament season is over, I am down for playing whatever anybody wants to play in order to get my
Right.
mind off what happened at the tournament. But in the lead up to Gen Con, I'm probably not going to be branching out into many other games. So
Right. All right. Let's see if this works. This should work. Does this work? It kind of works. Let's do this.
Well,
All right.
I'm glad I'm not on the wheel.
You, I think you might. Oh, you won that prize last time. Yeah. I don't think you're on here. Okay, so let's start with the choir. Boom. Choir. This is, real quick. Rules for the giveaway. I keep forgetting that I got to say these every time I do a giveaway. Got to be 18 or older. This is not sponsored by YouTube. This is sponsored by Renegade Game Studios and by Gary Blevins / Board Game Nation. And you must be a member to win, which is what these names are on the board here. So here we go for a choir.
Oh, I am on there. If I get selected, you can just spin again. Okay. But yeah, I'm in between Charles Hall and Charles Mickle there.
All right, who's getting? Choir's going to?
What? Hey.
Robert Vandervalk.
Congrats, Robert.
All right, Robert. Congratulations. Reach out to me either through Facebook or through Discord. Now it is time. Risk 2210 AD. Again, compliments of our friends at Renegade Game Studios.
It's the one where you can fire nuclear weapons, right?
I have no idea. Bob Gibbs. Excellent. Bob, you are going to need to reach out to us via the Discord server or Facebook, and we will get you this game. All right, my friends, that is our time for today. We are way long, and we appreciate everybody being patient as I get this video out. If you need to go back and watch that video again, I completely understand. So we appreciate everybody's time. Robin, thank you for being here, and we will... Got anything else for the folks before we go?
No, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. You can see how our global final turned out. So,
sounds great. All right, my friends, we appreciate you. Have a great night.
Good night.